fingernails right now to the viewers and the listening audience. And if I were to let them grow and scratch my face with them, probably hurt. I'm sure it would hurt. If I were to, I don't know, tie copper fingernails to each finger and make them long and start just scratching my face and my chest constantly, that would hurt. If I did that for eternity, I would simply be doing what Islamic law calls for when you slander the Prophet Muhammad. I'm going to read for you Islamic law, Sharia law, from the law book, Reliance of the Traveler. And Muhammad asked Gabriel, the angel, one day, what happens to people who slander the Prophet? And here's what happened. Muhammad was taken up in the ascent, and he passed by people with fingernails of copper who were raking their faces and chests with them. And Muhammad asked, who are they, Gabriel? And Gabriel answered, they are those who slandered others and attacked their reputations. So, from the Islamic point of view, kiddies in studio today, if you slander the Prophet, we haven't even got to blasphemy. We're only at slander. If you slander the Prophet, you will spend eternity in hell with copper fingernails, raking your face, experiencing that pain, and raking your chest over and over again. What is slander? Let's take a look. Let's take a peek. Oh, there is no law in Islam. Well, this is the Islamic rule book, Reliance of the Traveler. And what you see going on in the Maghreb right now, in northern Africa, in the Middle East, and we're going to go through that in the show, all boils down to, supposedly, but we're going to tell you the real story, the Prophet being slandered. Watch, slander. The definition of slander in Reliance. Slander means to mention anything concerning a Muslim that he would dislike. This is just a Muslim now. So slander means mentioning anything, kind of general, that Muslim would dislike. Let's make it a little more refined. Reading from Islamic law. Things concerning a person he would dislike, whether about his body or his religion or his everyday life, his self, his disposition, his property, his son, his father, his wife, his servant, his turban, his garment, his gait, his movements, his smiling, his dissolutions, his frowning, his cheerfulness, or anything else connected with it. So if you say anything that a Muslim doesn't like, you have slandered that Muslim. And if you're a Muslim, then you are in hell for the rest of your life with copper fingernails scratching your face and chest as punishment for saying something negative about another Muslim. If you're an infidel like all of us in the studio, you don't even have a chance. We'll tell you what happens to us another time. But we're just dealing from a Muslim to Muslim perspective, so you can start to understand the philosophical motivation behind the anger in the Middle East right now and the political motivation. And if you go look in this book a little further, where it refers to slandering a Muslim's clothing, it goes on to say, clothing means such things as that his sleeves are too loose. If you tell a fellow Muslim, you've got ugly sleeves, they're too loose, you're going to spend, unless you fix the problem, eternity with copper fingernails scratching your eyes, your face, your chest for eternity, and experiencing all that because the skin grows back and you have to do it again. His garments hang too low, they're dirty. You should see the way I'm dressed right now. I wouldn't stand a chance.
Tom, may I ask, did they say anything about underwear being too tight?
Let's see.
In the Quran?
Well, it may there, but I'm reading Reliance right now, and I'm reading the law, and it goes on and on and on. So what are we doing here today, folks? Today's part 3 of our series, Muslims Gone Wild. And all you have to do is turn on the news, obviously, or read a newspaper, look anywhere, and we have all kinds of chaos taking place. But in particular today, we're going to deal with the capitulation by the White House to the jihadis who live by this book, as it relates to free speech. That's the issue of the topic of the show today. These are not small issues that are being dealt with. That's why we're diving into this. And we decided that next week we're going to do a 5-part series on the guys behind all of this, the Muslim Brotherhood. So next week, we're doing a 5-part series. You guys will become experts on the Muslim Brotherhood, though I know you are to some degree already. Next week. The week after that, we're taking off going to New York. We're going to have a little welcome party for President Morsi from Egypt, who called for a 1 million-man march today against Americans having the right for free speech, whether you like movies or whatever, cartoons, whatever the thing is. If you read slander, it could be you drew a cartoon and you said, this guy's sleeves are too long or too short. We got to go blow ourselves up in the Middle East. Well, next week on the Muslim Brotherhood, the week after, we'll be in New York at the United Nations, and we'll be in D.C., Washington, D.C., in front of the White House, doing our show live from the field. Who are we? We are, I tell you what, anybody that wants to call in. We're going to establish some critically important metrics, elements right now in the show. So we'd like you to call in the second half hour. We're going to Skype in a very interesting guest today, and we'll take calls from about 35 after the hour, wherever you are, anywhere in the country or the world. But we got to get some of this information out right now. We are Trento Vision here. I am the director of the United West when I don't have my radio television hat on. The United West is a counterterrorism educational organization. Folks know that. You can go to theunitedwest.org to see our work. We basically expose the Muslim Brotherhood in its organizational infiltration structures in the United States of America. And I think today, CJ, somebody released a paper on the infiltration into the White House. What was that all about?
Here we are. What we have is...
3-shot, yeah.
You can go to front page...
Closer to your mouth.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you get it.
You can't hear me through this mic.
Okay, talk to that mic right there.
If you go to frontpagemagazine.com, Frank Gaffney has published a 53-page pamphlet called The Muslim Brotherhood in the Obama Administration. And it is free.
All right, so basically, you may be having trouble with your mic. We're going to sort that out. So, Mike, stay
I'm
with
okay
you.
now? Okay.
You're okay now. Okay.
Go to frontpagemag.com, The Muslim Brotherhood in the Obama Administration. Free pamphlet. You can read it. You can download it onto your computer, or you can order it. Actually, there's a very interesting picture here, Alan. Your favorite ladies, Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin, on the cover of this pamphlet. And it shows all the connections that the Muslim Brotherhood has within the Obama administration. So,
yeah, we will. I don't want to do too much on Huma Abedin and.
No. I'm just saying they're on the cover.
Yeah.
They're on the cover.
We'll push that out a little later too. Maybe you can grab that, Mark, and put it up on the screen. Front page, Frank Gaffney, good friend of ours, his 53-page report on the infiltration of the Brotherhood into the White House, into the administration.
Yes.
Not just the White House, the Pentagon, everywhere else.
Exactly.
So that's our work on the United West side. This side is the communication of these these issues. Tom Trento, the name of the show is Trento Vision, essentially my vision of the world. I actually figured a couple things out in life and sharing that vision with you. The fact that there is right and wrong, there is good and evil, and some people are just crazy and not crazy in the sense of mentally insane. They have a Weltanschauung, a philosophical position that's in contradistinction against the U.S. or Western viewpoint, and that's it. They will die for a belief system that is destructive to human nature, to liberty, to self-determination, to freedom. And those are typically Sharia-compliant Muslims. That's why they're killing themselves and slicing each other's throats in Syria, and they're going nuts all over the world right now, in a sense. But a lot of this is political theater. Good friend of mine, and we're at WNN 1470 on the AM part of your dial on the phone, on the radio, or on your phone. You can do iHeart Radio, listen to us. If you didn't catch this show right now, you can pick it up 8 to 9 tonight. It's repeated on WNN 1470. Or if you really want to be cool and watch the show, go to TrentoVision.tv. We are commercial free, so there's not a break every 30 seconds. You have a whole hour of us in your living room and or your office, wherever you are. Okay, I want to read from an article my colleague put out today, Diana West. Diana West is an amazing writer, and you can go to her website, dianawest.com. And she's one of our co-authors at Team B2. Mike, you can do the three-shot there for these guys, too. She's a co-author, Team B2, and she's just a brilliant writer. And I'm just going to introduce, again, this is by way of introduction to our material today. The topic is free speech, and the offense is the administration's suppression of free speech from a policy perspective. And Diana West is always right on. Here's what she wrote in today's column. She said, 2 historic attacks on the U.S. territory occurred on the 11th anniversary of the 11th of the 9/11 attacks. All right? Now, don't miss this point, folks. The pretext for the explosions and the deaths, the sad occurrences in the Middle East, the pretext, that means the make-believe reason for those events is some goofy movie. It's not even a movie, it's a video out of California. We're going to have one of the people associated with the movie Skyped on in just a few minutes. But that movie's a pretext for 2 9/11 attacks. One attack, I'm going to read what she says. 2 historic attacks on U.S. territory mark the 11th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And what happened? Diana, in her typically succinct manner, writes the next sentence. The Obama administration surrendered our constitutional principles. You see, Sharia, as articulated in Reliance of the Traveler, that's simply the name of the Islamic law book that's been approved by all the super-duper Muslims. And if you want to get to heaven, follow this book. Not heaven, paradise. If you want to get to paradise, follow this book as a Muslim. You get there, okay? Inshallah, if Allah wills, because you can follow every letter, but inshallah, Allah may say no, and you don't make it. So you never know, but if you follow it, you got a better chance, okay? Well, she wrote, the Obama administration, Diana West wrote, surrendered our constitutional principles to Sharia law. And if you want to know more about that, go to Sharia, the Threat to America, the book that myself, Diana, and 17 others authored, because we explained the definitive threat doctrine of Sharia, which is at the center of the political upheaval. It's evil that's going up in the Middle East right now. She continues, Diana does. The first was a blasphemy riot that breached the walls of the U.S. Embassy in Cairo, whereupon thugs burned the American flag and hoisted in its place the traditional black flag of Islam that flies over Al-Qaeda, the base, and other jihadi movements. The second was a military-style assault against the U.S. consulate in Benghazi. Benghazi is a city of about 800,000, rat hole, terrorist, Al-Qaeda, every low-life mujahideen that wants to die in a jihad to make it to paradise, to get his 72 virgins. They're all moving and taking the first train out to Benghazi right now. It's believed to have been mounted, the attack the other day, on the consulate by a militia known as Ansar al-Sharia. That's interesting.
I read that the other day.
Yeah, the name of the fighters that killed Christopher Stevens, Sean Smith, Mr. Darty, the former SEAL, and the fourth fella, I forget his name.
And I have a list of all the points on the map right now, of all the different
Well,
attacks.
we're going to bring those up in a second. Diana says that Ansar al-Sharia, partisans of Islamic law, they were the fighters behind attacking the consulate in Benghazi. What does that have to do with a movie? It was 9/11. But when you lay out the big picture to blame the United States, so you have the dhimmi president. Dhimmi means I give up, and in Arabic, and the dhimmi secretary of state, I give up too with my boss, the president. Well, when you want that to happen, you have to say, oh, we're so offended that we're going to attack and kill you, and the reason is because you offended us. Slander. Go back to the book. We're building a whole concept of Islamic supremacism right here, folks. She continues, Diana does. She says Ansar al-Sharia was formed by the U.S.-supported Gaddafi revolution, which myself and my friends were completely against the revolution against Gaddafi. Christopher Stevens, U.S. ambassador and former point man to al-Qaeda-linked revolutionaries, and 3 staff members were killed. And she said, Diana did, an obscure made-in-the-USA movie critical of Mohammed has been blamed for causing these attacks. In fact, it is the people of Egypt and Libya who committed these 2 unprovoked acts of war to mark the 9/11 anniversary. Those are the facts, ladies and gentlemen. And the official response is what myself and our guys here, CJ and Alan and Mark, are going to get into in this show. But let's just show the viewers right now, Mark, the various...
right there.
You got it up? Mm-hmm. The various, let me get over to Trento Vision here. Take a look at this. Yeah, that's a fascinating Google map. You can thank Google for, wow, looks like the targeting for some of our drones that are out there. Similar places they go. If you go to, you can look at this for yourself, but just look at that. From western Morocco, from Morocco in the western part of northern Africa, that's the Maghreb up there. We got problems in the United Kingdom, in Germany, little activity over in Israel. Let's see, Jerusalem today, hundreds hurled stones at officers in Jerusalem after Friday. What do the Israelis have to do in a movie in California, Alan?
My question is, what is the response of our federal government, of our State Department, to Americans who are in those countries under threat of being slaughtered? They are business people, they are tourists, they are visitors, they are people who live there. What protection are we offering to these people? Because the first role of our government is to protect the citizenry.
Mark, you had a comment?
Yeah, my favorite of all the attacks is this one. In Khartoum, Sudan, demonstrators attacked the German, British, and U.S. embassies and hoisted a black Islamic flag saying in white letters, "There is no God but Allah, Muhammad is our prophet." And the other favorite one is in Yemen, scores of Muslims stoned U.S. embassies last night, brought down the U.S. flag in the courtyard, burned it, and replaced it with a black banner bearing Islam's declaration of faith, "There is no God but Allah." So we just let people come into our compounds now, burn our flags, and say there is no God but Allah?
CJ, do you have, or can you bring up Secretary of State Clinton, her statement, her official statement regarding Islam and all of this, and that may dovetail with Mark's question. Do you have that ready, or can you grab it?
Well, she's made several over the
The
last...
most recent one where she calls Islam a great religion, wonderful religion, all of this stuff. See, ladies and gentlemen, one of the theses of those of us who are fighting Sharia Islam is that Sharia Islam that has at its heart Sharia, the Islamic jurisprudential system, that is absolutely, according to Islamic scholars, incompatible with Western democracy. Therefore, for us to build political systems overseas or in the United States that presuppose an interest or desire in Sharia-compliant Muslims to be part of a democratic system is like trying to fit a gigantic round peg in a square hole. It doesn't work. What has to happen is those Muslims who choose to desire that which our Constitution allows need to escape from those countries, come here, reject and renounce according to the naturalization oath, abjure the potentates and other doctrines, and become part of this experiment and sign that contract, the Constitution of the United States. Those Muslims who do that are welcome in our family. But if you do that, you're no longer a Muslim. That's the problem, according to the Muslim scholars. You can't be non-Sharia compliant and be a good Muslim, according to the religious scholars. But those who are trying to reform Islam, we're with you. We're on your side, as long as you reject all this nonsense. So that's important. Okay, let's go to the supposed cause, Mark, of all of this. Do we have our guest on?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Well, call him up right now.
Okay, we're a little late on calling him up. Let's get him.
225.
And we will call our guest. Is he calling in? He was supposed to call in. Okay. All right, we're going to try to find our guest at an undisclosed location. The gentleman's name is Steve Klein. He has been all over the news in the past couple of days, from CNN to Fox to the Wall Street Journal to whatever, everything. He has some relationship to this movie called, what is the name of the movie again? Innocence of Muslims.
Innocence of Muslims.
I hope everyone has seen the 14-minute trailer, because it is the goofiest.
Is it that long?
It felt like 2-hour trailer. We don't really know if a movie exists, but there's just this trailer. And if you go through the timeline, folks, this movie was put out when?
July.
July 2nd.
Right, July 2nd. Today's September 14th. That's 2.5 months or so. And it had 6,000 hits up until the other day. Now it's got like 4 million. The trailer, the 14-minute trailer, the movie was doing nothing. How many millions of horrendous, blasphemous, slanderous websites, book? Our friend Robert Spencer recently wrote a book that says Muhammad didn't even exist. How slanderous is that? Your prophet doesn't exist. The historical record indicates that Muhammad probably never really existed. You can't get much more slanderous or blasphemous than that. Or you can Google websites anywhere, and you will find vile, horrendous, really offensive stuff against the prophet. Why aren't Muslims worldwide every day blowing themselves up and going nuts?
I believe this is the beginning of a worldwide jihad using September 11th, which our government doesn't understand. They both occurred simultaneously on September 11th. This is the beginning of a worldwide jihad
Here, Mike.
to scare the living daylights out of the rest of the world. And it's working.
Well, if you're talking about worldwide jihad, let's see who's in favor of that. How about the Muslim Brotherhood, whose credo is, Allah is our objective, the Prophet is our leader, the Quran is our law, jihad is our way, dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope, Allahu Akbar.
Can you read that again?
That is the credo of the President of Egypt.
We need everybody to listen very, very carefully. Mike, you have CJ in the shot here. Let me see.
No, you don't need my picture.
No.
No,
yeah, that's good. That's a good shot. We want the people at home to see and the people on the radio to hear. Let me just put this into context. The Muslim Brotherhood exists. We're going to show you all about it next week. They have a constitution. They have a preamble. Basically, their preamble to their constitution is what you just read, these 5 points. Read them again. Punch them out. Get it, CJ.
Allah is our objective. The Prophet is our leader. The Quran is our law. Jihad is our way. Dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope. Allahu Akbar.
Okay. And the obligation, and this is the president of Egypt, truly believes this stuff?
He's the head of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, isn't he?
He truly believes it. He supposedly renounced his, or gave in his MB card. But as I said many times, you don't leave the MB. The MB will tell you when you leave, and it's usually...
With whom is he meeting later on next month? With whom is he meeting?
The fella that believes that jihad is the way and that dying in jihad to be martyred is the goal in life is meeting in New York with the United Nations, with a bunch of other people that believe just the same way, about 56 other nations, and then about another 100 nations that go, well, I guess if they want to have it that way. That's the United Nations General Assembly. But then he's going to get on the one of those pedal cars, and they're going to pedal him down I-95 from New York down to Washington, D.C., and he's going to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to hang out with the Obamas.
Is this the same person that says, this organization says Israel will exist, continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it? Is that the same?
Well, not exactly, but exactly, yes, okay? The Muslim Brotherhood is the parent organization to that little happy group in Gaza known as
Hamas.
the Hamas,
Yes.
which is the resistance movement of Islam in the occupied territory of Israel, and they have a little document too that they believe in.
Also, I'd like to point out one other thing about this fellow, Mr. Morsai, who's going to be going to the White House pretty soon. Where was he last week or so? Who was he visiting with last week?
Israel?
How about in Tehran?
Israel.
How about he was in Tehran with Mr. Ahmadinejad?
Oh, that's close to Israel.
May I throw in another question? What special significance does Morsai have to meet with the president when Benjamin Netanyahu, who does not believe in the credo of killing all non-believers of the Jewish faith, he cannot get a meeting with Barack Obama, but Morsai can? Manishtano in Hebrew, what is the difference between these two gentlemen?
All of you don't realize, and I got to straighten all of you out, that the problem is a video in California. Don't you know that? And we have a guy that's connected with the video in California. Let's bring up Steve Klein from California. And let's see, tell me when we got him. Steve, can you hear me? This is Tom Trento with Trento Vision and our crew right here today trying to make sense out of a senseless world, man.
So you're going to try to make sense out of a senseless world by talking to somebody from California, dude? What are you on?
Yeah, that is a little crazy, isn't it?
Are you kidding me? I live close, like 100 miles from Hollywood. Those people are, they think I'm crazy. I look at them and I go, I know they're crazy.
Well, I'll tell you what. We know of your work. You've been working in the educational movement in Southern California for years. You have a program where you distribute literature to high school kids to try to wake people up on Islam, all of that. But none of us knew you were a filmmaker or involved with this. Could you tell us what your role is? And I don't want to get too much into the movie because the movie's not the issue. That's a pretext. I want to get into the free speech stuff with the administration. What is your role in the movie? How'd you get involved with it? And what's been happening in your life over the past 48 hours?
Last 48 hours, I'm very exhausted. It's been interview after interview, Tokyo, Israel, BBC, all the stuff. You've been good. It's no big deal. The death threats are coming in. The FBI is with me. They're helping us. I'm here with my wife. Everything's okay, and this is part of the free speech. And this is exactly how I got involved in the movie because the folks who made it are the refugees from the Middle East. And when I first met with the fellow who made the movie, I knew the name he gave me was not his name, just as I know that Barry Soetoro has a different name today. And so I deal with the refugees from the Middle East, and I know they're terrified. And so, okay, that's part of the ballgame. His only thing he wanted to know, since I'm an expert in certain First Amendment areas, is will he get arrested if he makes this movie? And I said, no, it's United States First Amendment. So he was very reassured. I spoke to him for about an hour or so. And then he said, well, I don't speak English very well. If something should come up, will you be my spokesman? And I said, I would be happy to be your spokesman. But Tom and the rest of your crew, I get asked by the Middle East refugee community weekly, monthly, all the time to help them out because I've been working with them for so long. And at the time that I did it, obviously, it was just no big deal. However, if he asks me to do it again and make a sequel, Muhammad Does Aisha, I will be a spokesman again.
Yeah, you have a TV program or radio program or something in California?
I do, and I've got to be really careful on that issue. I will talk to you privately why I don't want to bring that in, and I do want to move on quickly to the next area, and I'll explain later why.
Yeah, we will respect your privacy and all of that, and anybody that has to walk around the FBI with them because of an association with with all due respect, Steve, that was the stupidest trailer I think I've ever seen in my life. It was incoherent in many respects, though I have spoken to people who are Egyptian.
Tom, before you go
let me finish.
I was much more brutal. I was much more brutal on a movie. I don't know why you're sugarcoating it. I thought that Drunk People with Saturday Night Live, directed by the Three Stooges, had made it. However, the facts, the evidence, and the proof are 100%. It's been vetted by Noni Darwish and other people, and they all say the facts are perfect.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that former Muslims who either left and became atheists or converted to another religion have said the scenes depict information from the Quran or the Hadith or the Sunnah, and then the director. But there is one point, because I saw some of the actresses and actors repudiating the movie and that guy, the director, the producer, Sam Basile, whatever, because they said that Muhammad's name was never in the script. It was George. The name George was in, and then Muhammad was dubbed in later. What the heck is going on with that?
I have no idea. My duty with the film ended when I spoke with them until just a few days ago when he called me up because some reporter had called him, and that's when I called the reporter. That's how my name and phone number got everywhere up. Actually, I'm very happy that it did. It's been a great way to actually, when I was accused of murdering the ambassador in Libya by somebody, I don't know, it was one of the big ABC type people. I had like 12 reporters in here. It was a madhouse. And some guy said, well, don't you feel bad? I said, you know what? I feel very bad that the man is dead. I feel really bad. However, then they said, what would you say to his family? I said, well, I am very sorry that your son, your loved one, was murdered. However, you're talking to the wrong person. You need to talk to Hillary Clinton. And I turned to all 12 reporters at one time and I said, look, I'm a former United States Marine Corps officer. Our job is to protect ambassadors. You saw that we did protect the ambassador in Egypt. We did our job. And had it ended there, it would have been a non-issue. Had Hillary Clinton and Obama allowed the United States Marines to protect that ambassador, this would be a non-story. The only thing that would have happened was there was a very poor movie that got out. However, all the blame, all the responsibility, all the blood is on the hands of Obama and Hillary Clinton, and I am going to sound that over and over and over again.
Well, and also on YouTube. We have to blame YouTube for putting out the video, too.
That's an interesting point, Mark.
I've never met. Okay, we'll blame YouTube, too.
It's their fault. Yeah.
Actually,
It's blame Google. Get Google.
Yeah, you would think that it was a parody. It's something bizarre. The first time I saw it, I just shook my head and went, well, and to think that somebody could get upset over that movie is like, and that goes, once again, it says to all of the ABC houses, they said, well, you incited the riot. I said, no. Muhammad incited the riot. Muhammad and the theology of Muhammad incited the riot. All we did was facts, evidence, and proof. And so the blood, again, is on Muhammad and this very small fraction of people who do these bizarre things that Muhammad did.
Hey, Steve, I got a question for you. When's the last time that you ever heard of Islam or anybody in the Islamic movement ever taking responsibility for their actions? It's always someone else's fault. It's never their fault. Is that not true?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's just part of the theology, the doctrine, the sine qua non of what did Muhammad do. He always passed the buck. He wouldn't have got along with Harry Truman at all. Harry Truman, I don't think Harry Truman would get up here with him.
And also, if you look at President Obama, he has that same mentality because he's brought up in Islamic society. He must blame everything, so therefore he blames Bush, he blames this, he blames this. There's a great song out on, by the voters. Blame it on Bush. He cannot take responsibility for his actions, and that's the state we're in today.
Steve, we've done a little research. We've done a little research on you. Prepared Trento Vision here. That is 20 to the top of the hour. WNN 1470 broadcasting, but on the internet, TV, TrentoVision.tv. We have Steve Klein out of. We're going to tell where you're located, or do you care?
Everybody knows it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's in California. And he has an association with the movie Innocence of Muslims or Desert Warrior or whatever the name of it was supposed to be. And Steve, his life has changed dramatically in the past 48 hours. And Steve, we did a little research. We know that you are a combat Marine officer in Vietnam, served there in combat. Recognized awards, all of that, and then you had a son go off to war. Where was that?
He's been in Bosnia, Afghanistan, and Iraq, and thank God he listened to me about, as Mark said, Mohammed couldn't take responsibility, Obama can't take responsibility. Actually, it was that issue when my son was suicide bombed and shot up and barely survived multiple operations and being worked on. But, yeah, and actually I've been told not to say more about him because he's under secret.
Okay, I want you to listen to Hillary Clinton's statement that she gave the other day regarding this situation. And I don't know if you saw the beginning of this show, but we laid out the fact that slander, not even blasphemy, not even raising to the level of slandering Allah or the Prophet, but just slander in particular, is anything that's said that offends a Muslim, and that Muslims have this very low bar of doing something wrong, and you spend eternity scratching the hell out of yourself and feeling all of that pain. But we also said that the two operations in Egypt and Benghazi were absolutely pre-planned. All the data, all the intelligence is out. So listen to this statement from Hillary. CJ is going to read it, and this little part I want you to comment on it.
Well, I'm just going to read a couple of small clips. First of all, there's her personal take on it. To us, to me personally, this video is disgusting and reprehensible. It appears to have a deeply cynical purpose, to denigrate a great religion and to provoke rage. And she's continuing, we condemn the violence that has resulted in the strongest terms, and we greatly appreciate that many Muslims in the United States and around the world have spoken out on this issue. Violence, we believe, has no place in religion and is no way to honor religion. Islam, like other religions, respects the fundamental dignity of human beings, and it is a violation of that fundamental dignity to wage attacks on innocents. As long as there are those who are willing to shed blood and take innocent life in the name of religion, in the name of God, the world will never know a true and lasting peace.
Okay, that was Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's official statement, correcting the original statement that came out of the Egyptian embassy, which was apologizing for the film, all of this. And we understand the sensitivity. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm getting death threats coming through. I've got another one. Give me about 30 seconds. I'll be back. For real, it's no big deal. Don't get worried. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
These things are real. I've talked with Nani Darwish and a lot of the leading authors. This actually happens on a recurring basis. These death threats coming into these people, it's actually a very serious, and there's nothing that they can really do about them because there's nothing illegal to really making death threats in the United States, believe it or not, on the internet. And so, but we have to live with what we have to live with.
Well, I think the audience knows I'm a Christian. I have two Jewish people here. and I don't know how many times the Savior, Jesus Christ, in the Christian world, has been denigrated, blasphemed, put in bottles of urine.
Paid for by the United States, funded by the United States government as arts grants.
All of that stuff. And myself and my Christian friends go like, okay, who cares? I mean, what's the big deal? If this person is who we think it is, the Messiah, he can handle a little bit of urine and dung. It's not the end of the world. People hate him. He died. People killed him. He died. So I never gave a death threat to anybody over that or anything.
But you've had a few, Tom.
Yeah, they come my way here and there. Yeah.
But this is indicative of a primitive religion that has not changed in 1,400 years. Look at the Christian religion, how they have changed. There are no more Joans of Arc being burned at the stake. There are no more inquisitions. The Christians are freedom-loving people. They fight for Israel. They fight for democracy. This religion of Islam is primitive. It's vile. And we have to understand that. We can't come out and say it's a great religion, it's a religion of peace and freedom. This is total nonsense.
Well, David Yerushalmi, who is another team member of Team B2, co-author of Sharia, and an expert on all of this, and a big attorney, First Amendment attorney, he just won a gigantic lawsuit against the city of Manhattan, city of New York, over advertising on buses, transit advertising.
Right.
The Muslims put up signs that said the Prophet is tremendous and all this stuff, and call this number. Fine, call a number. Well, two of the folks we know, Robert Spencer and Pamela Geller, who are hated by many Sharia-compliant Muslims, and I'll state for the record, on the record, that we all recognize that there are many, many Muslims in the world and in America that want nothing to do with Sharia. They want nothing to do with all this insanity. They want to leave that, become Americans. And those who do, who are willing to reject the violent element of Islam and the non-Western elements, come on over. We'll stand with you, we'll help you, we'll defend you. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, I want to be Sharia compliant and be a good American. That doesn't work, and we'll explain a lot of that next week. But our friends Pamela and Robert Spencer came up with a billboard, and it was announced today it's going to start going up. And if you think this goofy movie caused the problem, wait until you see this billboard. It simply says that in a war between the civilized man and the savage, always go with civilized man. Support Israel, right? I mean,
my goodness,
it's pretty direct that Muslims fighting the Israelis are savages, according to this billboard, and it's been fought through the courts, and the courts have said that's the right of the author of that material under the First Amendment to say that. Let's see if some Muslims blow themselves up somewhere over this billboard campaign that goes up.
Who brought Spencer and Pam Geller to court? Who were the people who brought them to court?
Yeah, CARE and ISNA and all those guys.
Why doesn't CARE and ISNA develop a flotilla for freedom of speech?
Steve back? Mm-hmm. Okay. A flotilla for speech. That's interesting.
Let them go over and fight for the people to speak out.
Let's go back. Hey, folks, we're live here on Trento Vision, and you don't have to come here. In Florida, and TrentoVision.tv, or WNN 1470 on the radio, on iHeart. So a lot of things happening here. Our guest just had a little problem, had to step away, but I believe he's back.
Yes,
let's bring Steve Klein back up. Steve, what would you call your if it's an official relationship or a loose relationship with the movie? What is your position?
Well, I would say loose relationship. I was called in, I guess, a consultant, but their whole concern, his whole concern was First Amendment. Will I be arrested if I make this movie? And it took me about an hour to convince him, no, he wouldn't.
Were you ever on the set, there helping or doing anything like that?
No.
Okay, so did you help with the writing of it?
No.
So, this group came to you like many groups come to you. You said it's okay, and then how did you get from some perfunctory effort to help this guy to this whole brouhaha going on? When was the first second in the past 48 hours when you go, okay, something's going on here?
Well, at the end of the initial consultation with him over the First Amendment, he said to me that his English wasn't very good. He didn't understand the ethos and the culture of America, and he wondered if I would be a spokesman. And I said, yes, of course I would be. And so the night before everything fell apart, he called me at home and gave me a phone number, and he said, call this number, and it turned out to be the AP. And I talked to the girl for a few moments. She got my name. She had my phone number. And then the next day she issued the story, and then that's when I went from being just a little old former Marine Corps officer to getting many death threats and things of that nature.
Are you worried about all that?
No.
You guys have any questions for Steve? And we'll keep it pointed toward free speech then.
Yes, I do.
That's Mark.
I hear you have a honored designation from the Southern Poverty Law Center now.
Yeah, I thought, they invited you to be on the board of directors?
Yeah, they did. Are you the national spokesperson for the Southern Poverty Law Center, or what is that distinction?
That's pretty funny. They use that SPLC, and I just asked, so why should I be concerned with a wife-beater who is a pedophile that had an affair with an underage girl? I'm supposed to worry about his opinion?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Until these attacks in Libya and Cairo, there were about 6,000 hits for people viewing the trailer for this video. Were you aware since July of how many people were actually seeing this film, or once you did your work with these people, that's it, I'm done, and you pretty much were disengaged until 9/11 happened?
Right, exactly, yeah. Through the grapevine, about 30, maybe 45 days ago, it's like the time's fuzzy. From my Middle East refugee friends, they had mentioned that the movie had been posted on the internet, and I went and looked at it. That was the first time I saw it, and I almost cried. I was laughing so hard at how pathetic it was. But I did remember looking at the counter. It was I think it was less than 1,000 hits at the time that I looked at it, and I thought, well, this is a complete bust. It's not going to go anywhere, and it was interesting.
So you weren't thinking to yourself when you were looking at it, or when you were associated with these people, gee, this is really going to take off, and this is going to be the next Danish cartoons, and or even, boy, these people are going to make a lot of money selling copies of this video.
No. What Steve was thinking was what tux he was going to wear to the Academy when he stood up front and he got the Academy Award for the worst movie ever made on the face of the earth.
Steve,
California, I'd wear a pink tux.
Okay.
Steve, I got a question for you, and this is actually a question not just to you, for the whole panel, but I'll ask you first. Do you think President Obama has succeeded or has failed in his foreign policy efforts over the last 4 years?
He's a total disaster, and that goes back to Hillary making that comment. Shows how naive she is, and her naivete would lead her in the direction that she does not need the United States Marine Corps to protect ambassadors over in very dangerous zones. To me, that proves she should be relieved of duty for gross negligence and dereliction of duty. But that, to me, is the whole story, period, not the movie. The whole story to me is Obama needs to go. Hillary Clinton is dangerous. She's going to get a lot of people killed. She is dangerous.
All right, Steve.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, unless there's any other comments, we're going to let you go.
Well, I just want to say I think Obama has wildly succeeded.
But we're going to talk about that. Mark thinks he succeeded because he thinks it was a trick question, Steve.
I understand it.
Yeah. He succeeded in decreasing the stature of the United States, which as an anti-colonialist, that's what you have to do. We'll bring more of that out. But hey, stay safe.
Because, that's a good point. Because he showed weakness, he sends signals to this very fringe minority. Not very many, but you know how many suicide bombers can you get on the head of a pin to dance with the angels? What he has done is told these very dangerous people from all over the world, come on down and destroy my United States.
Yeah, I think that's an important point you just said. I've heard you say that before and read it. The point that your focus is not on every single Muslim that's out there. You're focusing on these jihadis that want to blow up and kill people and all of that, and take word for word the Sharia element. That's an important point. But let's do this. You stay safe, and we will have you back. Updates, if you don't mind coming back to update our folks, and we'll try to carry the story through, because if you continue to listen to the show, this has been a mess as it relates to the free speech rights of Americans worldwide, that's for sure.
And God bless your son, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and God bless all you, and I hope everybody's safe.
Okay, you take care, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Klein out of Southern California, and as I said, we'll take one quick call now. We'll do that. Nick in Philadelphia. Nick, your thoughts?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you great. You're with Tom Trento and our little crew here. Did you just see Steve Klein from California?
Yes, I did. And one thing that I'm disgusted about is the fact that, everybody reads Quran, and it's exactly the way it is written over there, but the fact that nobody understands it, and what you just read and what is there in the Quran is not something that you made. It's right there for people to understand it. And nobody's trying to understand it, and when you try and explain to somebody about what Quran is about, they will either try and kill you, or they'll just try and threaten your life and your family. And the disgusting thing is also the fact that 4 Americans have been brought to yesterday, I believe.
Yep.
And we are just silent about it. Just because someone made a movie, 4 Americans have been killed. But when those dead bodies are brought in America, we're just silent about it. And Hillary Clinton said that the Muslims in America have protested, but I have not heard anybody protested so far. So, have you heard anybody protest?
Well, Nick, I got to let you go right now. We're going to close, and there's all kinds of protests. Keep watching the show. Tell your friends, and call in whenever you want. We'll bring you on. But we've got a couple of minutes, folks, to kind of tie this up. And next week we're gonna launch into a more detailed approach and explanation on this Muslim Brotherhood deal. But what are your quick thoughts about Steve and what he's doing and all this craziness here?
Well, the whole craziness to me.
And full disclosure, I've heard of Steve. I knew about his work. I had no idea he was doing anything here, and he's done some pretty good stuff on the educational way. So, I do know something about him. Go ahead.
Well, my 30-second wrap-up here is, we're losing American soil. How much more land must we surrender? How much more must we appease? What is the end game here? I mean, where is it going to go? Is Obama succeeding or failing? I contend he's succeeding wildly.
CJ?
Why this video? Why this time? I think it's to take the attention off of Iran and what Iran is doing, because they think the Israelis are coming, and we got our eye off the ball. And I think this administration is a disgrace to this country and a disgrace to the free world in its response. And that sums it up right there. It's a disgrace.
Your 30-second close, Alan. Thank you for being here with us this week, by the way.
Thank you. This is a signal to Hollywood. Do not make any movies that reflect negatively on Islam. This is scary. This has shut down Hollywood, and we're going to spend years and years paying for this, because in no way are we going to show the reality of what Islam today is. Forget about 1,400 years ago. We have been shut down.
Real fast.
Yeah, real fast. Also, I want to wish everybody a good Rosh Hashanah, Happy New Year, a healthy, prosperous New Year for everybody. I will not be here Monday or Tuesday.
We will miss you.
I will be back on Wednesday, and I hope it's a better year for all of us.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. And my closing thoughts are: if Islam was a total population worldwide of 2 people, nobody would even care about any of this if two people were upset over this. Because on principle, it's not anything that we should care about that people are upset because someone doesn't like their religion. Okay? As a Christian, as a Jew, we don't care if you don't like our religion. We're not going to kill you or beat you up because you make fun of our religious beliefs. So, but with this administration, this president, and the Secretary of State, the direction it's going, your free speech is going to be suppressed because of the crazy jihadis that are scaring the hell out of President Obama. You got to take a stand, and though I don't agree with everything Steve Klein does, I give the guy a lot of courage for taking a stand, and we'll be back. Tom Trento saying goodbye for the week. Have a wonderful New Year.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Your host, Tom Trento, is an activist street fighter with earned degrees in law enforcement, theology, and philosophy. To reach Tom, call 561-319-5533. 561